It's Friday, August 23. In the headlines, the Education Minister responds to concerns about the government's plans to recruit foreign teachers. In business news, Kingston Properties Limited acquires 2 buildings on Duke Street. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago aims to be aviation hub. And in sports, ISA clamps down on overseas student athletes. This is the weekend news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. In response to concerns about the government's plan to recruit foreign teachers, Education and Youth Minister Favour Williams has assured stakeholders that the education sector will not be flooded with overseas educators. More in this report.
At the recently concluded Jamaica Teachers Association's JTA 60th Annual Conference held at Ocean Coral Spring Resort in Trelawney, Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams addressed concerns about the recruitment of foreign teachers. She assured attendees that this approach is not new, noting that educators from other countries have been part of Jamaica's education system for decades.
In our education system, ladies and gentlemen, over many decades, we have had teachers from other countries in our classrooms. Many of us sitting here can recall teachers who taught us English and other subjects coming from other countries. In my own high school that I went to, my English language and English lit teacher was from the UK. Physics teacher was from someplace else. Chemistry teacher was from someplace else. Spanish teacher was from someplace else. So it's not as if we're going to be inundating the sector.
Mrs. Williams emphasized that the recruitment is aimed at filling urgent gaps in the education sector based on feedback from principals who supported this option.
When we look at the new teachers coming into the system, there are gaps in certain subject areas. We went around, we spoke to principals, we talked about the option, and they expressed an interest in having such an option available to them. But again, we're not inundating the system with foreign teachers as the press would make it out to believe, or the opposition. That's not what we're doing. It's more of a surgical insertion for those gaps that I know we need to fill from our own system.
The Education Minister noted that teacher migration has been a long-standing global issue.
We know that teachers make personal decisions about their lives. Going abroad to teach has been a phenomenon for a very long time. We're faced with a global situation. There's no country on earth that's immune, and teachers are moving around, and we have to really ensure that within Jamaica we have the skill set as well in those areas, in maths and science, to help our children.
The JTA's 60th Annual Conference took place from August 19 to August 21 under the theme, Preserving the Legacy, Remaining Relevant for the Future. For the news on PBCJ, I am Denida Rodney.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the government is prepared and ready to tackle the deadly Mpox virus because the administration has learned lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Tufton gave an update on the situation following the World Health Organization's declaration that the spread of Mpox is now a global public health emergency. Here's our report from a press brief hosted by the Health Minister this week. The Health and Wellness Minister says Jamaica is perhaps more prepared than most other countries around the world. He says the government, through his ministry, has heightened its surveillance, case investigation, and contact tracing to break chains of human-to-human transmission of the Mpox virus.
We are monitoring the countries where Mpox is present, and persons coming into Jamaica from those countries of concern may be subjected to a higher level of surveillance questioning by the health team. But generally, we will post appropriate notification at our ports of entry so persons can be aware of symptoms.
He says there will also be increased surveillance in the health system. He says the Mpox vaccine is available, but it's not necessarily accessible.
Again, to reemphasize and to reassure that Jamaica has been proactive in the past as a government, as a country, and so we do have stocks. However, it is only administered in the process, maybe to simplify by saying, of contact tracing. Once you have discovered a case, then you determine who are the exposed individuals in and around that case, and then you offer the vaccines to provide the protection to those persons.
He notes that there is a shortage of the Mpox vaccine.
And the intention is to look at the numbers that we have to determine what we need to reserve for ourselves and possibly to offer some of the vaccines that we have to other countries that are affected.
Mpox, or monkeypox, is an infectious disease that can cause a painful rash, enlarged lymph nodes, and fever. Anyone can get Mpox. It spreads from contact with infected persons through touch, kissing, or sex. Animals when hunting, skinning, or cooking them. Materials such as contaminated sheets, clothes, or needles. Pregnant persons who may pass the virus onto their unborn baby. The University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI, had announced a temporary suspension on accepting non-emergency transfers of patients earlier this week, leading to speculation in the public. Speaking at a virtual press brief this week, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tofton sought to further explain the matter.
I think the release may have created a particular impression, which is concerning to me, that they were not taking referrals at all. This is not the case when I spoke to the CEO and the head of the medical team. They are taking referrals depending on the nature of this particular case. And the release gave the impression that they were not. So yes, they are under pressure, as I understand it, but depending on the case and the need to have the experts there deal with a particular case that may only them alone can deal with, those referrals are being accepted.
Dr. Tofton says he understands the fear of members of society when a tertiary institution with a wide variety of experts issues such a bulletin.
As a normal course, referrals are made from other institutions across the country because the University Hospital of the West Indies is the only institution that may be able to provide that kind of combined levels of service because of the experts that are there. Depending on what is happening in the country at any point in time, where you have outlier events, whether it is man-made or natural, that institution will come under increasing pressure and referrals will become a lot more than normal. My understanding is that they are going through that process now.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bessessa McKenzie further explained that a high influx of patients is not a surprising trend, as this tends to happen at certain times of the year.
Hospitals right across the country tend to become overwhelmed with the number of cases coming into the emergency department and it's a sicker person that is coming into the emergency departments, which results in the emergency department not necessarily being able to resolve the problem, and persons have to be referred to be admitted in hospital. And so there is a huge demand for hospital beds. Now, as we come closer to the end of the year, we find that those numbers usually tend to increase because we have an increase in respiratory cases as well as increase in trauma, as well as we do have an increase in the number of persons that are coming in with complications of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and hypertension.
Children remain the main target of human trafficking in Jamaica. This update came from head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit at the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch, Woman Detective Inspector Kemisha Gordon. She's encouraging parents, guardians, and other well-thinking adults to take steps to safeguard children against human trafficking. She says, quote, for example, last year, about 70% or more of the victims identified were children, and the previous year, 100%, end quote. Inspector Gordon, who indicated that the unit receives reports from the National Children's Registry, says her team investigates all matters referred. She explains, quote, on average, we receive about 25 to 30 such anonymous calls per year, and we ensure we look into every one of these referrals from the National Children's Registry, end quote. Inspector Gordon says parents should try to educate their children to be vigilant when engaging in online activities and be mindful of any potential link with human trafficking. Developers of the Morant Bay Urban Centre in St. Thomas Factories Corporation of Jamaica Limited has issued a new completion date. The FCJ says in a press release that the construction is now set to be completed by December 2024. Chairman of the FCJ, Littleton Shirley, made the disclosure during the Bound Brook Urban Centre groundbreaking ceremony in Portland this week. The MBUC, which was initially scheduled for completion by September 2024, has been pushed back by 3 months. The MBUC is a 28-acre development with a budget of $6 billion. The 436,000 square feet project will accommodate over 50 public and private sector entities. The FCJ says the center has been oversubscribed with applications from 108 small, medium, and large businesses, amounting to a demand of approximately 600,000 square feet. FCJ continues to accept applications for space to ensure that visitors to the center are provided with the total shopping experience. Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. Kingston Properties Limited has advised that it has closed on the acquisition of 2 buildings located at 6 Duke Street and 8 to 10 Duke Street in Kingston on August 21, 2024. Kingston Properties has further advised that the acquisition was done on a sale and leaseback arrangement with Victoria Mutual Building Society. Jamaican-listed real estate development company First Rock, through its wholly owned subsidiary First Rock Capital Cayman, has entered into an agreement to acquire a commercial property in Georgetown, Grand Cayman, containing units leased to multiple tenants. The property in question is a 221,000 square foot mixed commercial use property First Rock noted that the property is fully tenanted with long-term leases with anticipated rental income of close to US $1 million annually. The cost price has not been disclosed. During trading for the period of August 22, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Office Supply and Stationery Distributor, Stationery and Office Supplies Limited, with 5,010,162 units represented 33.05% of the market value in terms of sales. International Conglomerate Grace Kennedy Limited, with 2,028,137 units represented 13.38% of the market value in terms of sales. Caribbean Banking Conglomerate NCB Financial Group Limited, with 1,417,121 units represented 9.35% of the market value in terms of sales. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies on the stock market, we turn to the Forex market. On August 22, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $38.5 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $37.2 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $158.50 and bought the US dollar for $156.35. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $2.15, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of 86 cents from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $116.82 and bought for $115.96. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $9.75, selling it for $208.18 and buying it for $198.43. For our credit report tip of the day, we continue with the bundling of an auto loan and a mortgage. And we want to look at thinking that you can get a lower interest rate, simplified payments, and even exclusive perks. However, your credit score plays a crucial role in getting these benefits. So we're gonna leave you with some actionable steps. First, check your credit score. Before approaching your bank, ensure that your credit score is in the best possible shape. 2, research bundling options. Explore the bundling programs and benefits offered by your bank. 3, negotiate terms. Use your credit score as a bargaining chip to secure the best possible rates and terms. 4, consult a financial advisor. Get professional advice to maximize the benefits of bundling your loans. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed, stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Stuart Young, confirms plans to build an aeropark, saying that the country is looking to become a hub for the aviation industry. The minister was addressing the Center for Aviation Airline Leader Summit, Latin America and the Caribbean 2024 on Thursday. Terrianne Brown Campbell has the details.
What we are looking to do is see how we can become a hub for airline industries. We have our own indigenous airline, Caribbean Airlines, and I hope and I'm sure they're in the room here today. And they are willing to partner with all other airlines in routes that make sense.
Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Stuart Young, said Cabinet has authorized Caribbean Airlines to purchase aircraft and expand into South America.
Another significant step that we're taking, the Cabinet has approved the building of a Aero Park, as we call it, right on the outskirts of the airport. Well, literally in the airport's lands. This is a perfect opportunity for persons looking to invest, be it in business, be it in cargo.
The Energy Minister said government recently approved legislation that allows special economic zones, which would allow for bonded facilities for air transport.
The aviation industry, too, is looking at how do you clean up aviation fuel? What are the blends that you can utilize? Trinidad and Tobago is well advanced in that, and it is one of the issues, one of the factors that is going to prove to give us a competitive advantage.
Minister Young said there is need for improvement.
When I had to go to Venezuela over the past year, I had to get to the airport in Trinidad before midnight. I had to wait to board a plane at 2 a.m. to fly to Panama, sit down in the airport in Panama, which is Copa's hub, to then fly back down to Caracas. From the time I board the plane at Piarco to when I disembark in Caracas, 9 hours for an hour-and-a-half flight from Port of Spain to Caracas. And that is where you have to provide solutions.
Terry Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
In Antiga and Barbuda, minors will soon face a curfew restricting their presence on the streets beyond certain hours unless accompanied by a parent or guardian. The government plans to introduce this curfew through new legislation in Parliament, with curfew passes available for exemptions. Myrtle Bruno Hodge has the details.
While the cabinet debates the exact hour of the curfew for minors, one thing is for certain: a curfew will be imposed. That's the assurance coming from the Attorney General and the Public Safety Minister, Honorable Sir Stedroy Benjamin, in an exclusive interview with ABS.
We are now deciding the hours of the curfew. One view is that it's from 6 in the morning until 6 in the night, to 6 in the morning. There are other views, the 9, other views 10. We have not yet determined the hours, but you can be sure of one thing, and that is that there will be a curfew in this state.
The Attorney General explains these sanctions for those found in violation.
Where children are found on the streets between the hours stipulated, they'll be taken to the police station on the first occasion. Parents are called in and warned. Some are of the view that on the next occasion we should deal with the parents severely. Others are saying we should have up to 3 occasions. Personally, for me, once you're called in once and there is a recurrence, you should face the brunt of the law.
The public is expected to assist law enforcement in policing the curfew and reporting incidents of deviant behavior by young people.
I would expect that persons in the community, if they know of little children walking around making problems, they have an obligation to call the police station and say, listen, this particular person is not taking care of his child. Or this kid from this home is also on the streets. Just call the police.
Sir Stedroy also re-emphasizes that legislation will be introduced in the House of Representatives to hold parents responsible for the actions of their children.
In addition to that, we are looking at and shall be introducing in Parliament once again legislation to make sure that parents who do not supervise their children properly will be made responsible for their children's action. Where are your children, we ask? How can you be a mother or a father in a home with young girls and young boys and you don't tell me where they are?
He states criminal activity in Antigua and Barbuda will not be tolerated. Myrtle Bruno Hodge, ABS News.
In sports, we begin with athletics. The Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISSA, says overseas transfer students looking to participate in its competitions will be subjected to a waiting period of 1 year before gaining eligibility. The association says in a press release, quote, all students transferring from a secondary institution outside of Jamaica will be subject to a waiting period of 1 year before becoming eligible to participate in ISA-organized competitions, irrespective of age. These students will also now be regarded as members of the school's quota for each sport." End quote. After making his presentation at the launch of the ISA Manning and the Costa Cup football competitions at Stadium East on Wednesday, Keith Wellington, president of ISA, explained that this was done to protect the limited resources in the country and ensure Jamaicans get the most out of what is available. Over to cricket. Local and regional players selected by the Guyana Amazon Warriors for the 2024 Republic Bank of Caribbean Premier League began their preparatory camp on Tuesday, with their first match against Antiga and Barbuda Falcons set for August 30. The defending champions are gearing up for a series of faraway games across the Caribbean before returning home for matches in September. Team manager Leon Johnson provided updates during a training session at the National Stadium in Providence.
The fitness levels, or starting fitness levels, have been pretty good. I had an assessment yesterday with the trainer Jason. Pretty good. I mean, a lot of the guys have been working with the Guyana franchise locally, Guyana Jaguar. So fitness levels are good. In terms of bonding, it's always been good. All the players returned from last year, with the exception of Rifa, who came in, who is no stranger to Guyana and Guyanese players and Guyanese franchise cricket in general. So yeah, the camaraderie is good. Yeah, just a couple of things we obviously pay keen attention to. Obviously, power play batting and power play bowling, which is very important in T20 cricket. I think teams that win the power play, majority of times they go on to win the game. So the couple of days that we've had training, we've placed keen emphasis on winning power plays, whether it be specific to batting or specific to bowling. I think the defense is always a bit harder, just mentally though. I think mentally is a bit harder, knowing that you're champions and everyone is looking to take your crown. Obviously, getting over the hurdle last year obviously was a great feeling, not just for us, but for all our supporters. But obviously defending a championship mentally sometimes comes with a bit of pressure. And again, we have a big squad of 17 players, and last year we were fortunate enough that everyone had the opportunity to play. All right, so obviously it's about players taking those opportunities when they come. As you said, we currently have five of our squad members who play T20 cricket for the West Indies, and I think there are a couple on the cusp, some on the fringe of West Indies team. Just the name for Kimo Paul and these guys who have been there and obviously looking to get back into West Indies team. I think once they perform well, you look at regional cricket, guys that perform well get the opportunities to play at the international level.
And that's it for the weekend news on PBCJ. Remember, you can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica, because we are the People's Station.